Tokozani, it's Monday. Ooh, it's again. I'm tired. Mondays are just, I keep saying that they're such a busy day, and they are. But let's continue with today's talk. It's Ubughedla Continued. Continued. We're going to just pick up from where we left off last week. But specifically today, I want to do Bungakatsube, this prophet together, and how they tie in together, and what the link is. So yeah, araphahling lesedi bonkgolo bontatemoholo ba makobetse ba mjali ba bogatsi ba gotloa ra lebitsa bonkgolo bontatemoholo go tlontse tsa lefatshe bonkgolo bontatemoholo ke nna ngwana nne ke khanda le mbobe bonkgolo bontatemoholo ke kopo re be lena le tla bua ke kopa lesedi le ganya le gantse ditsela bonkgolo bontatemoholo Jesu Kriste matla ohle wena khanya lefatshe wena re bulelang ditsela ra mo wena morena modimo ya matla ohle re kopa ganya ka jeno ho be wena ka sebele Jehova ya matla ohle amen. Thokozani, it's Monday. It's Monday, a very tired Monday, and a very interesting topic. I've been saying that we are going into right? There's so much I want to teach about, and this is the foundation, and from here onwards, I think in 3 to 4 weeks, we're going to really start to tackle the hard stuff. This is still foundational work. All right, so I wanted to sing today, but I want to teach about Ubughedla Continued. But where I always give my teachings is that we are all differentiations of God. So before the I am chose to bring light, before the I am chose to create virtual reality, what we see, when the I am was still purely metaphysical, it decided, it conceded with itself to create differentiations of itself. And like I'm saying, this is a lesson that I will teach right up until my last lesson, because everything that has got to do with spirituality starts from there, right? So Ntate Modimo was like, or Memudimo, this is not Nkulu's phone. This is my phone. Ntate Modimo, Memudimo, chose to differentiate itself into all of us. And that it may forget when it comes here, because of the system, the polarities it has created for itself, right? It has used the system to forget that it is God, that it may slowly work its way back to remembering that it is divine. So this is very important. I'm going to jump right into today's lesson. This is very important. Because I always say, who was the first healer? Ngaka ya pele, it was Iswekema. Ngaka ya pele was divinely taught, divinely instructed, whether it was by Idlozi at the time or Mudimu, right? But we've also spoken about why Mudimu li Idlozi, they provide the same functions, right? Ngaka ya pele simply saw the need to experience him, herself, itself is a spirit. In this world, by taking the elements of the earth and using those elements to heal. Probably Ngaka Tsupe ya Pili, Ngaka ya Pili, did not know that there was a need for what he or she did. Probably Ngaka Tsupe ya Pili did not know that what they did was special. Ngaka ya Pili just listened to the voice of the I am. I am being Idlozi as well. And I've taught this a bit, God's prophet, but I'm going to touch on it today, right? So today the topic is Ubughedla elinobu prophet. Why? Why Dingakatsupe do they seem to have prophetic spirits, right? And the answer actually is coming from the basic analogy that I've given. By definition, Ubughedla liyalala, liboniswe imithi, and the location livuke. So it means ukuthi Ubughedla liboniswa imfihlo from the time that they close their eyes. Ubughedla doesn't need to learn imfihlo. Ubughedla liyaboniswa, right? Wakes up, goes to the exact location that is required, digs up that plant, comes back with the knowledge that that plant is going to heal somebody. So it's very interesting. I was trying to think today, Ubughedla bongakatsupe bukena kae, especially when we are trying to differentiate dineo tsa rona. And why? Why is it that Dingakatsupe necessarily dlozilabone ha le thwasiwe? What's special about them? I mean, why am I having to be? Why must I kibe ngoma or kibe prophet and not Ngakatsupe? Does this mean that amakwele are special? Does this mean that they are more special than us? Abatwasayo, and this is something that I've always wondered. However, when I got to sit back and think about it, if you look at the systems of this world, the system that we have been conditioned, we like to speak about the system that we've been conditioned by the system to think in a particular way. If you think about the systems of this world, communism, capitalism, all of these systems are education, evolution, ecology. All of these systems are the natural systems of this world are what are the foundation, or rather the basis of the worldly systems that we see. So most of us, abangoma, aba prophet, we need to find a way to walk out of the system, because we know that the system is a program. We know that we take from the system whatever archetype we feel we need, in as much as we have learned to adapt. Baprofeta have learned to adapt to the system. Abangoma, generally, they try to work themselves, their souls, out of the system. But if you look at Bungaka, not only Bungaka, if you look at everything in this universe, the systems of nature are what actually informs the systems that we have created. And that's what makes the system Salifatse so hard to get rid of. And it's also the reason why Abangoma, because they try to work outside of it. It is why Abangoma have had so much opposition in the world. It is why abangoma, or people with ancestral spirits, have a hard time finding themselves and expressing themselves, because they know that they are finding themselves within the system created, man-made, right? And it is also why ubungoma was counteracted by the Witchcraft Act. To become ancestrally inclined, it became a problem to our ancients, because ancestrally we only observe the flowing systems, the flowing seasons of nature alone, right? We don't observe the man-made, the synthetic systems. But 95%, 99% of the systems Mulifatsing are synthetic, they're man-made, right? So what does this have to do with this? I just want to just say this as I walk on, If you look at business, and our financial situation, economic situation in the world, this is all based on systems created in nature. How? If we share the roots, that's clear, and the bark and the leaves, the tree and how it functions with the fruit is exactly how the production function works. So the people that created that came up with the theory of the production function, right? Okay, and not everyone went to do finance, I know. So the production function is moving a raw material into a final product, right? You only need to look at a tree, right, and the seasons to realize that is what the production function is based on. You look at the law of supply and demand, and you look at the ecosystem. The law of supply and demand was purely based on studying the ecosystem. If tau ili 1, di zebra, di 1,000, di sa robale, why would tau run around and need to hunt? It wouldn't need to. That is the law of supply and demand. So I'm trying to actually bring Bungaga into the modern system, right? Because with time, I'm going to try to explain why we twasa, right? And the reasons why we twasa are more than ancestral. Or rather, they are at many different levels. And what Badimo have done, Kabungaka Basitsu, is to take a natural system, yet again, make us go through it, that we may come out and have an understanding of certain other systems. Right. So what does this have to do, leading Agatsupe? Right. Dingakatsupe, actually, if you think about it, they are the inventors from a spiritual place of systems. How? Our ancients used to practice ubungoma, and then the colonizers came, and ubungoma was shunned down upon Ubughedla Witchcraft Act, right? So, who was the first person to take ubungoma and convert it to its prophet, if not Ubughedla? Nilingakatsupe. Ngakatsupe started to realize that within any system, you can take the ancestral, convert it to the modern. You can also take the modern and revert it back to the ancestral. I would even like to say that it is Ubughedla who came up with the process yokutwasa. I don't believe that it would be Baprofeta, because Baprofeta are more recent and banalim dawa walekgowa or wa mu India who would not align with that. And abangoma, they struggle in general to expedite who they are and show it to the world. So it would be very rare for umgoma to be outspoken, to be eloquent. Abangoma in general are not talkers because they've got ancient spirits, they've got ancient endowed spirits. And the problem with ancient endowed spirits is that for them, healing is about providing the source of healing. Okay, what do I mean? What do I mean? With endowed spirits, this is for every endowed spirit. The endowed spirit aligns with whatever the element and provides healing. That's what endowed spirits do. They relax. They sit at the back, right? And they take out peku. Mmereko wa mundao ke peku. Mmereko wa mundao is not go hlola. Mmereko wa mundao is not to investigate. Endowed spirits, and that is why for most people, when we dream of endowed spirits, we dream of big trucks, big buses, the ganda. I don't know what you call that. Ganda. We dream of head doctors, head of departments, right? The reason Mandao like to come as those people is because they only delegate. They know the work so much that to sit through the process of finding the disease is a wasted effort. Like I've said, Mandao, they don't like to waste time. Mutonaling mainly endowed spirits wa mobona because how kena mundumbi nya gago tlaresage o se lokisitse before you even come. They are not big on go tlhola. Not that habatlhole, but it's because intlolo or ukubula comes from 3 sources. We know ukubula from go check the symptoms. It's a symptomatic disease. So you look at the symptoms, that'll tell you what the disease is, right? And that's what medical doctors do. Ukubula is to physically look at the patient, right? And to listen to their dreams. It's ukubula as well. But what I found was amandao babula umuti babula ka pheko bathola ka pheko. Here's a good example. If you were to come into my ndumba and I give you Panado, it means that already I have anticipated or have seen that you got pain and fever, right? And that was actually one of the easiest ways that's how I got to learn go tlhola batho. Ne ke tlhola batho ka meriana. When people came in, I would literally hear the sound of a particular muriana. And it would be that muriana that would inform me what is wrong with that person. Because I know what muriana lo wetsa. Right? If now we are putting mahlabek feni, it means that it's a physical ailment that you have. So by just picking up that plant, immediately I would think, or I would know this person has a physical ailment, right? And it is a physical ailment that is causing them pain and discomfort. So mahlabek feni would be like brufen, right? And then ngesindao you work backwards. If lo muntu lona une physical pain, ibangwa yini? Now that's where the Nguni spirit starts to work. Right? So the reason why also I'm saying this is because now Amanda, I'm actually trying to explain why endowed spirits work like this. Because last week I specifically said Ubughedla are people with pure endowed spirits. Balawula ngumndao. Ndawo abone ke no obalawulang. Batsamaiswa ke yena. And that is why the need yokuti phakamise umguni or prophet is not really there. That's why they are intuitive. Because they do babula from the Ndao aspect, from backwards. Right? So, but that's not what the topic here today is about, right? We're talking about Ubughedla and Prophetic, right? If you look at Ubungoma and how it was converted to Prophetic, it could only have been Ubughedla who did that. Because Ubughedla, they operate within the system, but also outside. Remember last week I said that they have an issue with their position, right? The position that they normally are born into is not clear that they are the leader. Ubughedla normally are middleborns, or they are second children to a father. Always. Sometimes they will be raised by their grandmothers, right? But Gantsi dingaka tsupe have got an issue with the bloodline from the father's side, where by virtue of maybe that father's side is ababatli or sabatle maboni, then they don't fit in. Kidi firstborn born. That's what I see the firstborn. Kidi firstborn. But kidi firstborn tsa me o rileng. And not necessarily the firstborn tsa ntate o. Right? And now that's where we would look at me o, the mother. Mateng ke mang. O keni yang mo lenyalong. You might find that you are a firstborn to your father, and he had married the previous wife, or hadn't, and then with your mother it's the direct inverse. So biologically, mo lefatsheng ha o firstborn, but spiritually you are. Why? Go shebiwa gore yaanong mmago ke mang, o kene yang mo lelapeng. It becomes very important, this becomes very important because it also speaks about what type of Ubughedla are you going to be, and the purpose yobughedla bakho. That's what the purpose now becomes, right? Hangata the firstborn tsa banna or basadi of a previous woman, even if asa nyalwa or o ne a ntsheditswe magadi go be go sa nyalanwe gantle, she will have or he will have Ubughedla as well. But it will never be a primary Ubughedla in the father's family where iliyene o phekulang family, or it will never be Ubughedla ba gore yene a gedlele gore ibe ndlunkulu. Motho e tla ba le gedla, but o kry a phagamisa the spirituality of the family. O kry a phagamisa the finance of the family. O kry a phagamisa the family clan. Sometimes badimo ba etsa ngwana o mong o leng gore nasa nyalwa, the mother nasa nyalwa, ba mo tsenga ka tshupe gore ebe yene mosupatsela. Now that is where Prophetic becomes very important, right? Because if now you manage to convert Ubungoma into Prophet through Ubughedla, it means that also in the family, Ubughedla converts children who would have endowed spirits because of grandparents who knew that their grandchildren were not taken care of. Then it means then ufiwa bongaka tshupe to correct that. And actually, like I said last week, it's a blood family. Then from that side that did not do what it needed to do so that they can rectify. So bo It comes now from an endowed spirit who is in the family. And Mulawandao spirit says, "Nna ke le mundao, ke go fa a gift so that wena, at the end of the day, I can have peace, you can have peace, you can flourish, you can grow." Right. So that is primarily why we have Bungakatsupe. And that is primarily why Dingakatsupe, they would have more than one a gift. Butsupebo simple. You can even call Butsupebo Bundao. It needs to attach itself to another spirit. Why? Why? I've already said why, but another primary reason is that now Butsupebo yano butlisa kopano ya di family. Butlisa peace into the families. Ukopanya your mother and your father's side of the family. Right. So it's a bit complicated, but it's also really simple. Hopefully next week I'm going to talk about different reasons why we could twasa, why we would twasa, why we do twasa, and how that affects us. Right. And how that affects the way that you twasa, how that affects even the signs when you are epihlweni or you are wherever. What are the signs to look out for when you are twasing for a particular reason? Because we think that ukutwasa is purely only, it's not necessarily the case. If you think about what I said, that they are the one group of people that can operate within a system and also outside of it. And if you guys remember last week I said their biggest problem, their biggest vice is that they cannot see the difference between right and wrong. Why? Because right and wrong are mental constructs. However, we've built these mental constructs to a point that even limo babyling. Society is made up of mental constructs. So hangata, get the mental constructs, but these people they're incredibly lazy king. I know Dingakatsupe are almost prejudicial. But for bona nto e wrong. Abone basar bare e wrong. For everyone else, they are able to view and observe and maybe judge other people and say, that is not right. If you look at the Khosi, there is no prejudicial system like that one. Those people are rigid, right? But rigid, why? Because they've got something to protect. You are given a gift, but they generally appear sociable, but they're not really. They're not really. And they get to a point very quickly where they make conclusions. They are very presumptuous people, presumptuous. And that is why Dingakatsupe are able to function inside and outside of the system, right? This Gogo Mapula says, is it possible to have more than 3 clauses apart from Butsupe? Absolutely. Absolutely. Butsupe kabubone, Ubughedla on its own can attract many other spirits. You could have Buprofeta, but Buprofeta bo Babutsupe would come easily, right? Because now Buprofeta Babutsupe, like I'm saying, Butsupe Libo Profeta, actually they are interchangeable. It's just that one maybe call it Buprofeta Basitsu, right? Bungakatsupe Igedla can have Umguni or Kitayo, right? Purely because Umguni law wants Uguti now the application yemit must be diverse, right? Ngakatsupe, let me say, we all know is to bring taste to food. But Ngaka Tsupe, when they combine themselves with the prophetic spirit, they take that same salt, but it's a bata, for completely different reasons. Ngaka Tsupe can take umut, let's say uvula kuvali or umadlozana. This I've seen a lot. Umadlozana would have many uses. Every single Ngaka Tsupe that I've met describes madlozana in a different way and for a different purpose. So that's where now they would have the Nguni spirit. Because now that Nguni spirit needs to expedite or to prescribe imiti in different ways. Umadlozana, we know that you can use it mainly for amakobongo, right? But some people bath with it. Some people don't. Some people use it as imfiso. Like imfiso is that necklace yadi beads for protection. Some people use it for that. Just that muti. Amadlozana, you can burn it. But you would burn it for a particular reason. So that's where Ubughedla would have, let's say, a Nguni spirit. Ubughedla could also have a Nguni spirit and a prophetic spirit, right? And I hope to teach about how and when do Nguni spirits like to convert themselves to prophetic spirits and why, right? Maybe I should teach about that next week. All right. And then definitely Umdawe. Ngaka Tsupe will definitely have Mundao. Ngaka Tsupe, it's amaisua ke Mundao. The elemental spirit ke Mundao. That is why Ngaka Tsupe is a kgone gore e bue gore e believe mo badimong or mo modimong or mo jesong or mo eng. Ngaka Tsupes actually take the principles of ascended masters and they apply them in real time. And I'm not praising them, right? So that is Buprofeta. Most of the time, and I stand to be corrected, but my observation is most spiritual churches, especially Tamids, Zion, Apostol, mainly Ubughedla lapha mainly Ubughedla tse di berekisang sethunya. Now, why would you say that? Each and every apostol and each and every Zion inale the way e tsamaisiwang ka teng. Tse ding ha di berekisi diwash ba berekisa ditlhare fela ba me berekisa diwash le di mix. St. John, in as much as St. John is like badochitse their gift. St. John ke Ngaka Tsupe on steroids, right? Because how do you take sunlight green bar or 40 motho ka yone? Like on a serious note, motho a nang ka sunlight eo batho nights. And St. John, the things that they use, it's a lot like Ngaka Tsupe style because it's things that are easily available, readily available. You wouldn't know. Or now, this thing, if 40 some too young, I've seen safe powder. Yes, I do, but what is a mat? Serve a blue, right? And St. John also is primarily a Ngaka Tsupe church, but it is a Ngaka Tsupe church based mose profetong. Ke di Ngaka Tsupe tsa Bibele fela. Right? Okay, how do you know the difference? Gore o Ngaka Tsupe e jwang? I just want to try to think about characters in the Bible that I think in a leading Ngaka Tsupe. Last week we spoke about prophet Ezekiel. Yene in a Ngaka Tsupe that I feel is more towards the Bongoma side. Because even Lidi Prophet or the things that he was shown by God, it was always, the introduction was always the same, Son of Man. And Abangoma will tell you, they know Idlozi Labo very well. They know who is addressing them. They even know their names, right? So I feel Prophet Ezekiel was a lot like Ubughedla Lesintu. Probably one of the closest. Probably not the only one, but the one that I could think of. And then you get Ubughedla, let me say, like Jesus. Right? Ubughedla, like Jesus, Jesus went and studied the law. It was part of his religion. It's where he comes from. He was not learning a foreign thing, right? And bungaka bo bo leng ka mo gare ga gage drove him to maybe learn more than, we would think it's more than other kids. But I know in Islam, recitations. They learn certain verses in their Quran. And this is from school. So I would think Jesus, probably in Judaism, they do the same thing. Right? So Jesus went through a process that every other boy in his time, at his age, went through. To learn the recitations. The recitation. But he disappears for a good, 21 years? And we don't know what happens to him. The Bible doesn't say. But when he comes back, Ubughedla now is applied. We call it miracles today. Through miracles. Perhaps he went ukutwaza. It's possible. Maybe he went to twaza Abraham. However, when he comes back from whatever he was doing for the 21 years, by the way, he went to help his father, so he had a day job, right? And most they have a physical job within the system. So when a day job as the carpenter's son, right? So he was doing carpentry as well, helping his dad, and that. But when he comes back, it is now where what he has learned through the law, he's using it in a completely different way. He's taking that language, the knowledge from home, and creating something new out of it. So I'm sure Judaism, obviously, parties fail. But I know most Muslims, they don't drink alcohol at all, right? And Christianity is said to be a big part of it, has been derived from Islam. But there's this guy who turns water into wine. There's this guy who starts to spit on the ground, taking mateagare and mixing it and healing blind people. That is him using ancestral elements of his gift, right? There is this guy going for the baptism, right? And if you look at the way that he was expediting his life, it's like he began like every other Jewish boy, only to go and do something that is off on a tangent, right? Only to go and die like a criminal. And ultimately, the reason why Jesus dies on a criminal is because his ideologies of right and wrong for his time, yet again, Ubughedla style. He felt certain people deserve grace, and whatever. And he rebuked as and when he felt, the fig tree got rebuked for not having figs when he rocked up there, and he's like, listen, we're now useless, let's dry you up. But I would say, if you look at the life of Jesus, it is a combination of Ubughedla that is mixed with ancestral and prophetic spirits. because he is drawing from what his ancestors have given him, only to convert that into his adaptation, right? And then you look at John. I don't think it's John the Baptist. Let's call him Prophet John, who wrote Revelations. But yene, he was more of a medium, fortune teller. He was taking stuff that he was not really mentioning Jesus by name. I think Revelations mentions Jesus here and there. He is not really speaking about a God in a particular way. He is speaking about the Alpha, the Omega, the One. That is said a lot of in Revelations, the one who is doing this, the one who is doing this. And there's a lot of reference about angels and events to come. Right. So John, I would think, would be Ngakatsube turned into medium. By the way, like I said last week, I believe for most mediums, Kidi Ngakatsube, Tidina Limbo Prophet. Right. And I that's my feeling, that you look at mediumship and you look at using tarot cards and crystal balls, or all of that. It is very much Ngakatupe things, because we could say that they're not ancestral, but the spirit that informs them is the same. Hangata, we say that we are mediums, yes. But we are mediums informed by idlozi. You do find mediums telling Ngakatupe, I don't know what they say, informed by the universe, universal lessons. There we go. So I feel that is why Bungakatupe, I feel I don't see the need ya gore why ekatwasiwa, unless if re twasa the components to it. So I think I'm done on the prophetic Ngakatsupes. Hangata ubona Ngakatsupe, like I'm saying, back to the churches. Hey, I nearly lost my beat up and I've got 15 minutes. Most of these churches, especially Mobana Young White, I think they're invoking a Ngakatsupe spirit, because if you think about it, these churches, they are founded on Dlozi rules. Yet most of these churches don't want to call Idlozi. They want to call Idlozi Ingelozi. But why? Why? Because half of these churches ezayoni ko postola. Why re sa tshwana go re badimo? But re berekisa re na le badimo ba re fileng dineo tsa rona tsa bopostola. Like, why? Why would you, in certain churches, go light pepper is offensive, but incense stick is not so offensive? The point is really to get the incense. Right? And that's why I was saying that I think most of these churches, what the people, or the founders of these churches, what they've done is invoke their gifts through Ubughedla. Because from that point, there is no real set rule as to how they do things. Even Lidipeka, even Limabai, Lidipeka, if you really think about them, it's just that, okay, they're not printed and they're not there everywhere. But every church thing, a specific sign. So it looks like every church as well, Kimpande, right? And That is why, I mean, even some time back, I spoke about how these churches get to invoke Mungametsi. That is typical Gedla style. Taking what we know and finding a way to make it applicable, and then weakening it into a secluded area. So, for the most part, if you hear your Gobela say that you don't need to go Kolewaya, go Metzin, go Nuking, you must know probably they've got an element, your Ubughedla. And what they've done is they've probably killed the other elements, whether it's Prophetic or Ubungoma or Isinguni or Istswana or Xhosa or Sesotho. Badimu baka mogai, they have destroyed them through their deeds, because badimu baka mogai, even though olingakatsubi bato khalimela. So because now they have destroyed other components of their gifts, what they start to do then is just take Ubughedla and try to make it apply. That is where the gift yadi bata comes from. Neo ya bata ke ngakatsubi. So, yeah, let's get out of Melamba too. How about Parlam Daumo Pating or Kahos Pipe Mazran? Right. But you do need to realize that the people who have come to that conclusion is because probably all along, that gift, it was there in the background, and the universe, or rather their actions, have pushed them to be who they are, and now then they use that element, because there are a lot of matrix rules, right? More like the matrix, and like airbenders, those people. The biggest problem that I think Ubughedla would suffer is, like I said, because they cannot sometimes differentiate between right and wrong. They definitely need Idlozi Lasekhaya to guide them. Hangata, we just dive into things. I believe there is no better candidate than somebody who feeling Bungakatsupi. Right? Mkulu Gogo Mapula, they don't actually kill those elements. What they do is, each element we feel through humility, and each element is like a level, or you are a task. So certain tasks, when you no longer do them, or when you deliberately defy from them, then you, the person, no longer see that you need them, so they no longer serve you, and that's how they fall away. You feel that you will evolve, but sometimes I see this with a lot of Dikobela. They slowly lose themselves to a point that now, by the time that they are misaligned, but Ubughedla will never be disturbed, because it is a gift that can adapt very easily. Now I'm losing my chain of thought. So yeah, like I was saying, they're the ones Baba Tokamba Dimba to caution them. And most Yama but Twasa Badimu Baba. Right? Jesus, thing is coming and going. And Yapali, Imatahut. Right? I can't believe this is running away from me, and it's been coming and going. So yeah, so mainly the it's mainly people who've got water spirits who've managed to summon Mungamits, but it's through a gift Ubughedla that they do that, right? They are able to work in and out of any system, and they're able to interpret, because they understand the spirit of God, the spirit of the source, can be interpreted and it can be applied in whichever way. Get scientists, these people, right? So they go there and they run many experiments, and that's how they get to where they are. It is an ever-evolving gift. That is what I believe. I believe that Ubughedla are revolutionaries. They're the ones that look at how things are functioning and they try to make them better by changing them and removing what they don't need, right? Even today, that's how we see them. Right. Last, I've got 8 minutes. Now I remembered what I wanted to say. And this is not going to be just for Ubughedla, but I'm going to make a suggestion to people who think this is something that my gogos and kulus taught me. I was shocked. And this is something that Abangoma, they don't struggle with because they know it was ilabo. Most prophets, we don't really know our bloodline, or we are falling within mom's side of the family and the other side is not there, or dad's side of the family and the other side is not there. But I want everybody to look at your clan names, to your clan names. Because on more than one occasion, I have managed to help Batu Baba Naling Bungaka. Let me not say Bungaka Tsupe, Bungaka, through their clan names. And if you look at the totem animal, Yakwa Yenu, ki yone gangata e tlo go kaeda gore o ngaka e berekang yang, and the clan names tsa rona di na le tshebetso ya gore re bereka yang. Let me give a good example. My gogo Mamchali, when I trusted her, she is the one who actually taught this to me. She pestered me to find her clan names, and when I found her clan names, the clan names are Kwamchali. They actually described my first dream of her. They described my first dream of her and what happened. So for most of us, Dingakatsupe, when we're trying to find our way, more so because we've got prophetic dynamics in our families. And as a prophet, you don't need the clan names, because that's a prophet o palama manyeloi or o palama lenyeloi le leng Jesu or o palama manyeloi akwa yenu. The prophet is basically guided and moved by Istunya. And Istunya doesn't necessarily require your clan names, because Istunya could be any family member who believed in a particular religion and would like to give you a gift. Istunya doesn't need to come from a mother or father. It can come from an uncle. Could come from a deceased brother or sister. It could come from. So, Casa Profeto, to know your clan names is not a must. And Abangoma, Bona, Idlozilabo normally tells them who they are and where they come from. It's part of that, because now Idlozi is working on land spirits. It's mainly ancestral land spirits. These are people that want you, Kuti, Utwase, them. They want the opportunity to come back. It's about them bringing the knowledge that they bring, right? It's about them having a second chance of living in 2021. But if you can, even if you don't know you're not close to your biological mother and father's surname, gogo boitumelo, even if okabatla si ithako sa kwa bo mama gago, because if o le ngwana bo malome, it means gore malome ka setso ke papago, right? Sithako sa gago is going to inform you. Ke kopa gore you guys must research this. You're going to find a lot of interesting things about the way that your gift will unfold. Go na le ditlhare in our clan names too, right? And ditlhare tse normally they're the ones I think that would inform how you twasa and what they do. From my clan names, yes, Mkulu, I mean is Tagazelo. From my clan names, I've got 2 specific plants. Let me tell you, even on a bad day, right, they work for me. Even if I've got my eyes closed, I will touch it and I will know it's Umutilo. So if we can find out our clan names, I think it's going to be very interesting. I'm going to have a conversation. I don't know when, I think, Lynn, I've got just so many topics in my head, right? But I've actually noticed a trend with particular clan names, and I'm going to do a bit of research. But I found a trend with particular clan names, especially through readings and through meeting different people. And I'm going to try to maybe make it simple by describing how certain clan names that are well known work. Like a good example is Bondlov. I mean, if your clan names or Itlos Lako is Undlov, chances are you do need an elephant cloth. You do. Right? And that cloth, depending on what type of gift you've got, if you've got an ancestral gift or even a prophetic, normally Indlovule would either be a white one or a black one. Chances that it would be red would be very, 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 very slim. Because either it would be Istunya Sako, which would be Idlozilako Lagwandlovu, who wants to give you a prophetic gift. Or it would be Umdawako Wagwandlovu, which would be color black. Right. So I hear Mkulu, people saying that it's impossible. If it's impossible, it doesn't matter. We will help you guys to piece the pieces together. But what I don't want is people to start getting fascinated and fussing about that, right? I've had a few readings where people would say, I don't know my real surname because surnames were changed. Give you complications. But all of those things, all of those complications, 99% of the time when I do readings, Badimu, they show me what they've been accounted for. And hangata, when there's complications in the family, Gadi surnames, then that's where the prophet that would actually come in. Most of the time, even if unufiwa bungagatsupe but thing will attract the prophet because only complication ya the family dynamics or manke man. But if the bloodline is or the lineage is clearly defined, chances are Ubughedla basitso, Ubughedla besintu. Why? Because now Idlozilelo, you know them, right? So I was a bit everywhere again today. Thank you to all of you for your patience. I've been everywhere today. And my friends, all my friends, they tell me, please prepare for these things. But the Monday is really busy. Right? I've got so much to talk about, especially of Ubughedla. Ubughedla is Ubunyanga. Inyanga can be anything. Mkulu Gogo Sizile. Inyanga can be anything. Igedla is Inyanga. Eligedla, I guess. Mobelechi. The women, the midwives, African midwives. Kidingaka, let's on. But asemagedla. Muprofeta. Muprofeta wa profeta. Right. Mgoma. Uberikisa ditaula. but ikaba ligedla. And hangata, inyanga is a combination of many. So igedla is not always inyanga. Inyanga can be, igedla can be ngaka. But ngaka would not be isolated to being igedla only. So I think I'm all over, but we're gonna try to continue this next week. Declare names, bungaka. I've been saying that I want to give a bit of side info ka Israel. And I think it's also going to be relevant for Bungaka Tsupi. And I'm going to try to put it in context as well. So, Tokozani, have a great Monday. I've been all over, but it's always great to teach. And I hope you guys can learn as much as you can. I know that there's a language barrier here and there, but try to catch up. If there's anyone who has not gotten like videos on our spirits and that, do that, because it's going to help us. Every week we're going to make the topics are going to become more and more and more complicated, right? And with time, I can't wait to start provoking you guys to think. I'm still going to provoke you guys. But I want that, right? So that you guys can think about certain things in your spirituality. So, Tokozani, have a great evening. Have a great evening, Tokozani.